So it's been a bit of a weird hike this time. I've got 5 days in Frontenac Provincial Park. Be hiking out tomorrow morning, which will be day 5. Beautiful provincial park. What made it a little bit weird is that typically I do one of those loop trails. But here, bookings have been so overwhelmed that finding sites was a challenge. So the reservation system tended to be a bit more sporadic. So one day you'd be over here, the next day you're over here, down here, etc. And so you almost interweave throughout the park, which is an interesting way to hike.
There's a lot of colors, I don't know where to go. See a lot of colors, only feeling blue. There's a lot of colors, lost within a haze. Don't rely on others to get you through the maze. The dreams are not the same for me. Standing by the shore while you're on the open sea. Not take this anymore. There are a lot of voices drowning in the sea. There's too many voices talking back at me. There are a lot of choices waiting to be made. Too many choices making me afraid.
One thing I learned about Frontenac Provincial Park is they don't lack for lakes. There are some absolute gorgeous ones where you can swim, boat, canoe, fish, they just go on and on. But even any little hill or corner you come around, you come across these little lakes. Yeah, they might be more bogs, but you're never shy of water anyway.
Dreams are not the same for me. Standing by the shore while you're on the open sea. Cannot take this anymore. The dreams are not the same for me. Standing by the shore while you're on the open sea. Cannot take this anymore. A certain shade of blue will always remind me of you.
My mind's just been a bit more wandering. I've been more focused on the hike itself versus the ancillary aspects, such as vlogging it. I think that might just be part and parcel of the year we've had. I mean, thank goodness I think we're on the latter stages, coming out of it slowly but surely. Definitely been a long haul even to get out to something like the backcountry. And so when I'm finally presented with an opportunity just to let my mind wander a little bit, I found myself reflecting a lot on the past year. Some good aspects, but a lot of, well, you know. And that's what the wilderness does for me. That's what these moments of just getting away from everything helps to get your mind right. So I've appreciated the time these little journeys have afforded me. As to the hike itself, the first day was a bigger day. Well, not big by comparison, probably about 15 kilometers after a 3-hour drive in from Toronto. So Frontenac Provincial Park is east of Toronto by about 3 hours. And got in, did the self-check-in, and was on the trail by about 9:30. Hiked for about 5 hours, I think, over to campsite 1, actually. And while Frontenac is all backcountry, they do have the nice tent pads, so everything's nice and flat. And a nice bonus, at least at this site, you've got the bear box, which means we don't have to hang the bear bag tonight. Firewood is all prepped. The one thing with these though is the little campsites are congregated together. So campsite 1 has 4, campsite 2 has 4, but the 4 are not spread out, so you are actually pretty close to your neighbors. Now, I'm sure there's exceptions, and booking a little bit last minute, I took what I can get, but there wasn't quite the same degree of privacy. From one second day, I went up to 9, stayed at 9C. Nice hike, and actually probably one of the more difficult parts of the hike on the eastern side of the park. Bright early start today too. A little bit buggy, a little bit warm, but very scenic. A little bit more hills today, more of the up and down type. Shouldn't be a long day. I think I'm doing about 12 kilometers to my next campsite. So hopefully I'll get in about 2 and a chance to relax and maybe try my hand a little bit more fishing. Day 3 was a short day up to 11. Back around till 12 today, staying at Leech Lake. Not Leech Lake, Lynch Lake. This lake's a little bit dirty, so Leech Lake is at front of mind. Got a little fishing in. Got a little swimming in over a couple days. Huge storm yesterday, so I didn't actually tape much. There was about 45 minutes where you just really batten down the hatches in your tent. Luckily, most things stayed dry. The duplex works well in the rainstorm, although you do get a little splashback underneath it. But yeah, so far I've enjoyed it. I'd probably come back. intermission gear commentary. Shout out to the One One Hoka Speed Goat 4s. I switched from my Ultra Lone Peaks, which I still love, to the Speed Goats for that little extra cushioning. And I know I didn't do big miles, but my feet are great, and my knees, which my bigger worry, have no pain whatsoever. So first 100 miles, so far so good. Assuming you can get past the fluorescent orange color. So many beaver dams in Frontenac Provincial Park. I'm always amazed at the structure, how resilient they are at holding that water back. Interestingly, there's actually a $5,000 fine if you tamper with a beaver dam. I have no idea why one would want to, but it's there nonetheless. So I think if I were to do it again, because Frontenac is essentially the spider web of trails, I probably would have picked one campsite, somewhere in the middle, maybe the best campsite, whatever that is, and set up shop there for 4 or 5 days. And every day take off in a different direction and explore a different loop or series of loops and get your 10 kilometers in. Because realistically, there really wasn't a need to break up and set up camp every single night. I mean, it does feel like you're going somewhere when you do that, but because of the haphazard nature of at least the route I planned, a base camp might have been the more reasonable approach. And you got a little less weight on your back. So maybe a bit of a wrap up. About 3 kilometers from the trailhead, so a little less than an hour. This was a good trip. It really was. The campsites were well maintained. As I say, they were a little close together, but you know, most of them had a tent pad made of wood, or at least a very flat dirt one. They all had bear boxes, so you didn't have to hang your bear bag every night. Yeah, the only complaint was they were a little too close together. I stayed the first night at 1A, probably my favorite. Only downside is it's on an outer lake, so there was some motorized vehicles, motorized boats, nothing too big, but every now and again. Second night was campsite 9, and that was probably my favorite. I stayed at 9B, but if I had the option to book, 9D was the ideal location, and 9C a close second. Next night I stayed up at 11. I liked 11. It was a little away from the water. You had access to the water. You had to walk down a little bit of a path, so you weren't right on it. Again, close to your neighbors. I was at 11C. I would have probably gone with A or B. They seemed a little bit more private. And the last night was 12. Probably wouldn't recommend campsite 12. It was on Lynch Lake, and the lake was just pretty mucky, to the point where I was really hoping my water filtration system held true, because it was pretty dank. But so anyway, there was no swimming in that lake to say, and there was a little bit of an odor coming off it. So wouldn't recommend that, but in a pinch, I mean, it's still beautiful. You're outdoors, and the campsite was well maintained. Overall, though, I had a good, relaxing 5 days, 4 nights. If I were to wrap up or summarize Frontenac Provincial Park in one word, it would be pleasant. There's nothing grand that jumps out as, these mammoth vistas or those grueling climbs. It was just pretty and nice. And to be honest, when you just want to get away from things and spend a little bit of time in your own head, that's pretty much what you want. So, thumbs up, highly recommended. I will definitely be back. On a bonus, lots of animal sightings. I've probably had 4 deer sightings, which was nice. A turtle. Of course, our friendly neighborhood squirrels were always ever present. And then the mortal enemies, the black flies and the mosquitoes were in abundance. Albeit not that bad. Till next time. Hike on. Oh, maybe a little teaser. I've got one more trip planned in September. This one a little bit different. I'm doing just a 3 or 4 day canoe trip. First canoe trip in I can't tell you how long. I'm going with my brother and my father, so my first non-solo trip as well. And I'm going to try and outfit all 3 of us, so I'll do a little bit of the prep video for that in the upcoming months, and you'll definitely get a trip report there too.